Coming up tonight, a police officer and suspect are shot during a standoff in Pinewood Gardens. Meanwhile, chaos at NIB's check collection. And a former COVID patient faces a cancer battle.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. I'm Jared Higgs. Topping news tonight, a police-involved shooting in Pinewood Gardens has left a man dead and 2 police officers in hospital. Brittany McDermott was on the scene and has the details.
Tensions running high today after a domestic dispute turned deadly between a mother and son during her morning prayers. As detectives wrapped up investigations, the family members of the deceased nearly came to blows with another person, forcing officers and relatives to step in to defuse the situation. According to Police Commissioner Paul Roll, a mother got into an altercation with one of her sons during her morning devotions. This prompted the mother to call the police after the son reportedly became belligerent.
On arrival at the residence, she took the officers inside, and as she entered the room where her son was, he produced a firearm and began discharging shots at her and the officers. The officer who was leading grabbed the mother and protected her and pulled her out of the room when he was struck by a bullet to the back.
Roll says the officer shot in the back was Constable 3637 Joey Roll. The police commissioner added that the son barricaded himself into the room, forcing officers to force their way in.
The suspect, her son, locked himself into the room where the officers then called for assistance, and we had more officers responded to the scene here. We attempted to get the young man to open the door, which he refused. Officers then breached the door to the room where he was, where he again opened fire on the officers, and this time the officers shot him, fatally wounding him. A second officer was injured.
That second officer, according to Roll, is Corporal 3118 Jarvis Roll, received injuries to the leg. They're both in hospital and, according to Roll, should be okay. Roll was asked if the suspect was known to police.
I didn't get all of that information. I know what is important is that he is the son of the lady that contacted the police.
We also asked the police commissioner if police saw an increase in domestic disputes since the national lockdown.
I don't know that I could say that. I shared with my mid-year report the facts. I don't know that has changed.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Brittany McDermott.
A crowded and chaotic scene outside Thomas A. Robinson National Stadium today as hundreds of people showed up to collect NIB checks. From the unemployed and the disabled to new moms carrying newborns, frustrated people stood on long lines that wrapped around the building, hoping today would be the day they could collect a much-needed check from NIB. Jasmine Brown reports.
Those large crowds gathered here at the western section of the stadium, where they joined long lines with very little social distancing. There was a lot of anger.
Nothing. It's a waste of people's time. I could have come this morning, 6 o'clock.
Frustration.
I can't take this no more right now. They need to do, the government, whoever in charge of NIB, need to fix the situation quick, fast, and hurry. Because people can get frustrated and they can cause it. I don't want to say anyway. But anyway, that's all I have to say.
And crowding. As hundreds of people, including moms and their newborns, lined up outside the National Stadium looking to collect their NIB checks on Monday morning. They descended on the area after NIB released a notice last week that indicated all New Providence offices were closed until further notice due to the COVID-19 pandemic. NIB also published the names of nearly 2,500 people who they said could pick up their checks starting this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Former security guard Troy Edwards says he was appalled by the scene he met Monday morning.
I feel it should be more organized than this right now because first world countries don't have this type of mess which you see out here going on right now. How does it feel? I don't want to depend on this type of situation. I rather make my own bread and butter.
Others we spoke to were overwhelmed by the long lines, like this former Ocean Club employee who said while she needed the money, she was not prepared to risk her health amongst the crowd.
I really don't intend to go on that line this morning. Honestly, I am tired and fed up of coming here to NIB.
Others decided to stay on the line, saying they had come because they had been out of work since the start of the pandemic and had run out of funds to survive.
Because no income coming in. No income coming in, so I need something to pay some bills. This is my first time coming here from this happened anyway, so I wasn't really checking for this because I know this is going to be a screw up anyway. So that's the way it is.
And you're hopeful that you get something today?
Hopefully, yes.
I mean, you said you weren't checking, but it's been since March. Is this kind of like you're at the end of your rope personally?
Yes, ma'am. The kitty is dry. The pot scraping the bottom of the pot now. That's it.
You ain't get a kitty.
No, you're right. No kitty. Yeah. So, and it was pretty rough.
Our news team attempted to reach Minister of National Insurance Brenzel Roll and NIB officials. However, our attempts were unsuccessful up to airtime. At the stadium on Monday, NIB staff and stadium staff were seen checking temperatures and names as well as queuing people inside the facility. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
The Ministry of Health confirming 47 additional cases of COVID-19. This brings the total number of confirmed cases to 945. Grand Bahama reported 39 cases today, while New Providence has 3 new cases. Exuma has 1 new case, and there are 4 pending cases on an unspecified island. There are now 428 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Grand Bahama and 420 confirmed cases in New Providence. There are 815 active cases and 113 recovered cases. Almost a month after a COVID-19 positive migrant was processed at a government facility in Grand Bahama, the Bahamas Customs, Immigration and Allied Workers Union president claims that 2 of the COVID-19 positive immigration officers are linked to that case. He's calling for hazard pay for officers. Julian Gray has that.
With at least 80 officers in quarantine and at least 6 confirmed to have the coronavirus, Immigration Union President Sloan Smith said he is concerned.
Smith said after speaking to the officers, at least 2 of the positive cases could be traced back to a migrant who was housed at a government facility in Grand Bahama.
And this is not coming from the department. This is simply us doing our legwork and talking directly to the people. There's about at least 7 persons who we understand have been tested positive with this COVID-19 disease. 2 of them we understand is likely directly linked to that particular person who was housed in the C.A. Smith building in Grand Bahama. Of course, the government did what they had to do in terms of sterilizing and all that stuff. But yes, that is certainly concerning to us.
A COVID-19 positive migrant was housed in the C.A. Smith building in Grand Bahama back in July. While Smith said he knows the building was sanitized, it's the hazards the job presents that must be addressed. He said law enforcement officers and other essential workers are on the front line daily, and the government must provide hazard pay and increase the medical insurance for all frontline workers.
For some reason, they never saw Immigration and Customs as having hazard. But if nothing else speaks of hazard, then certainly the Honorable Prime Minister knows that this is hazard. He is a medical practitioner. So, Honorable Prime Minister, certainly we anticipate that in the appropriate time you would do what is necessary so that not only Customs and Immigration, our colleagues in the police force, in the defense force, the medical practitioners, nurses and doctors, all of these people are given the kind of insurance that totally covers these issues.
The union president said officers all over the globe are having the same challenge, and he does understand that it's simply the nature of where the world is today. Nonetheless, he said the proper safety equipment must be provided, especially to those on the family islands.
In Exuma, we need to have the proper PPEs in Exuma. We need to have them in Bimini. We need to have them in Eleuthera. We need to have the plexiglass that is not reproduced in Eleuthera. We have it, I think, in the headquarters in Governor's Harbour, it's there. But in terms of North Eleuthera and South Eleuthera, those have to be done in the various islands. Wherever they are not, we need those things to happen.
Attempts to reach Minister of State for Grand Bahama Kwesi Thompson and Immigration Minister Ellsworth Johnson were unsuccessful. However, Foreign Affairs Minister Darren Henfield said he was not aware of the claim. He said as COVID-19 is a very easily contracted disease, everyone should take the necessary steps to prevent contracting it. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
A man who tested positive for the coronavirus earlier this year is pleading for help in getting heart and kidney surgery as he battles cancer. He says it's a matter of life and death.
I want to see them come to manhood and to womanhood.
52-year-old Kevin Cash is in poor health. He has trouble walking and has had knee and back problems. To make matters much worse, earlier this year, he was diagnosed with kidney cancer.
I never anticipated such, and that's why it's so overwhelming to that degree in hearing such news.
Our News interviewed Cash at his home off St. Vincent Road. In addition to needing surgery to remove his left kidney, the father of two and hospitality worker needs heart surgery to prevent the cancer from spreading.
That's one of the reasons why I have to have the bypass to remove the stem where the cancer wants to remove into that area.
Cash's surgeries will cost him nearly $40,000. He's managed to raise about half of that through family and friends.
And persons who I didn't even know, they reached out on the level when they saw certain things in reference that I was in need of assistance. They assisted me.
Cash's health issues this year also involved a brush with COVID-19. He was one of the patients who contracted the virus while at PMH in April. While he only had mild symptoms, he was still isolated at Doctors Hospital Blake Road facility for 18 days. He says despite his circumstances, he's grateful for the care he received.
When I went there, I was not walking, and as a result of going down there, that's when I gained my mobility back.
But the man's challenges aren't overcome yet. With hotels closed, Cash has no job. He's pleading for help in raising the money needed for his surgeries.
I am a Christian. I believe in the power of God, and I believe that God has a purpose for my life. And I want to fulfill his purpose whilst I'm here.
More news on the way, but here's a first look at weather with meteorologist Greg Thompson, who joins me in studio. Good night, Greg.
Thanks, Jared. I'm your meteorologist, Greg Thompson, with your first look at weather. Taking a look at our current conditions, very warm conditions around the islands today, but those temperatures are now managing to get into the mid-80s. Still warm, fair skies, southeast winds at 5 knots, feels like temperature around 90 degrees. On our satellite, we have nice conditions around most of the islands with just a few isolated showers, some high-level moisture moving across the central Bahamas, all associated with an upper-level low, but conditions are rather quiet for the rest of the evening. That's your first check of weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come, Andros residents asking why their restrictions weren't relaxed like other COVID-free islands. Plus, employers still applying for foreign labor despite high unemployment numbers. Stay tuned.
Rev up on the next promotion? Okay. Nice.
Bye. You give up it.
Best 2 out of 3.
Sign up for Rev Trio and opt in to NBA League Pass absolutely free. Visit rev.bs or call 601-8992 for details. Rev, you and us, together.
Amid questions over why Andros was not included on the list of islands with ease restrictions, the North Andros MP suggested it may have something to do with persons traveling from islands with COVID-19 cases to Andros. George O'Bain reports.
Despite having no recorded cases of COVID-19, Andros remained on the list of islands that still have lockdown restrictions. The MPs for North and South Andros voicing their concerns about the island not being removed from the list.
One person suggested, what about lifting the curfew and the lockdown and allowing commercial activities, but travel remains prohibited? While another said, it's suspicious why Andros was not announced on the list of opened islands. Member of Parliament for North Andros and the Berry Islands, Carlton Bolag, said there have been reports of persons flying in and out of Andros from COVID-19 hotspots.
We have a lot of people that are in Bimini and Freeport and the Berry Islands from Andros. And it is alleged that we have reports of people coming in there from those islands, and we all know that they're hotspots right now. And I don't know if it will be wise to do something like that unless the investigation is done.
Meanwhile, Mangrove Key and South Andros MP Picewell Forbes said he spoke with the Prime Minister following his address Sunday night and was promised that concerns surrounding Andros would be addressed on the cabinet level this week. He said an overwhelming concern from residents is whether something is being hidden from them.
Inquiring minds want to know if something is out there, is something out there that we don't know. Please update us, let us know what's happening. Because if there are pending cases or some signs that they are concerned about, just let us know.
Forbes said while he wants Andros to remain COVID-free, residents are in need of relaxed measures that will allow the opening of number houses to allow banking transactions and to be able to get back to crabbing.
We just want to get some answers. Allow our people to do the crabbing, go to church, feel comfortable.
Concerns have also been raised about whether the island's medical facilities could handle COVID-19 cases. Bolek admitted that upgrades are needed to the healthcare facilities in North Andros in the event that the virus spreads to that island.
The healthcare facility there, I must say, has to be upgraded. And I've been behind the authorities in place to make sure that that takes place.
By and large, persons have not been asking so much about the testing issue in my district. But generally, the concern has been that of airlift, if something were to happen.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Georgia Bain.
Acting Labor Director John Pinder says despite thousands of Bahamians being out of work, some employers are still seeking to bring foreign laborers into the country. Pinder says there are hundreds of requests being made.
Every week we see hundreds of requests, mostly for Haitian nationals, to be honest with you. We recognize, based on the policy, nobody's supposed to be applying for working with somebody who's in the Bahamas. So my problem is, how is it that you're asking for a labor certificate to get a work permit for somebody out of the country and there's no planes flying and no ship sailing? How are they going to get into the country? I don't know, they going to just provide a private accommodation.
Last week, Immigration Minister Ellsworth Johnson said the government will not be issuing new work permits except under urgent circumstances. Pinder reiterated the government's policy that qualified Bahamians who are available to do the work will be given first priority for new jobs.
We still have a policy to follow, and when there's no Bahamians that are available for these jobs or who don't want these jobs, sometimes you kind of force Bahamians, the employers, putting pressure on you to please, man, release these for me. You know, so it would really be a good thing if Bahamians would look at some of these jobs that are not so highly paid, but at least you can put some money in your pocket at this time.
When Our News comes back from the break, an Eleuthera woman seeks a fresh start amid the pandemic. Stay tuned.
Coming soon to Rev TV, Goombay Kids. Goombay Kids is a show about learning, interacting, and having fun. Goombay Kids has made for kids by kids right here in the Bahamas.
Sit back, here we go, it's a Goombay day.
Goombay Kids!
Welcome back. A woman who closed her business due to the economic hardships brought on by the pandemic says she's looking to the Family Islands for a fresh start. After years working in hospitality, she says now may be the time to look towards farming and fishing.
I had put all my savings into that. And so you can understand how devastated I was when it closed and I was left with nothing and no ability to even make any further income.
49-year-old Josette Christie has spent the past 20-plus years DJing and working in hospitality. Most recently, she owned a Mexican-Asian restaurant with her sister. With that closed, she finds herself reflecting.
I have had 3 of my own businesses, and I've always been a very, very hard worker.
Despite that hard work, Christie finds herself without options. The DJ and former restaurant owner found herself relying on friends. Soon she knew she needed a change of scenery and opted for her home island of Eleuthera.
I find that it's so much easier to survive on a family island than it is in Nassau. You don't have the extraordinary bills, the pressure, Like I said, we could eat off the land here if push comes to shove. So it's not half at all as bad as it seems.
Christie doesn't have many job prospects right now as Eleuthera, like most islands in the country, remains on lockdown. While her positive spirit helps her to stay optimistic, she admits that she's tempted to lose hope at times.
Things in Eleuthera are even slower than Nassau. It's frightening. If I allowed myself to stop and think about it, it would probably, have me in bed for a couple of days, a little depressed.
Another concern the woman has as she moves into the next phase of her life is assistance from NIB. Insisting that she never looked to NIB, even after some major health issues, Christie says she's been disappointed with the scheme. A lack of automation means documents that she thinks should be submitted by email require a handwritten letter.
It's very frustrating, and it's not helping. It's 2020, and they've got to automate their systems more. There's no excuse. There are no excuses for it.
Meanwhile, Christie is staying at a friend's place and is looking to do something with commonage property she owns. She might return to her DJing days in the future, but for now, she sees a lot of benefit to people joining her on the islands.
If you're honest, like-minded, please come. Absolutely, yeah. If more of us were here, then there would be more workers, more community, and I definitely think that more people should start to investigate moving back to the family islands.
A young athlete hoping to score an athletic scholarship. That's coming up when Our News returns.
Journey TV presents the most open, honest, and revealing life stories. These stories of survival and strength will inspire you because there is freedom and healing in every story. Join me and my guest every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. and Sunday at 5:30 p.m. during the month of August on RTV channel 212 for real-life conversations. Journey TV, we share life's truths.
A young Bahamian is hoping that tournament success will lead to a college scholarship. Marcellus Hall has the details.
For young basketball players like Dayton Aubrey of the Bahamas national junior team, the opportunity to step back onto the basketball court too good to pass up. So far, it's been paying dividends. Junior national team guard Dayton Aubrey has been tearing it up on the AAU circuit as of late. Aubrey says the goal at the end of the day is to hopefully get recruited for a college scholarship.
My recruitment has been going good, I about to sign to a prep school this coming September, and I already got about 8 colleges after me right now. Still going through the recruitment process. Hopefully them interest turn into offers, but I have another tournament about next week. About to go there, still impress them, play hard, and get the offers.
Dayton saying Key has been giving his all every game.
If you're a basketball player, you're just going to go there and play hard, play the best way you could to impress everyone out there. So it was a good transition. It took me a few games to, get used to it, and I just had to keep playing.
Aubrey says the feedback from coaches and players regarding his play has been positive so far.
They already know who I was coming into season. They already know what I was capable of. After every game, they just tell me a good job. They tell me what I did right, what I did wrong, what I need to fix. But, it's all a learning process, and I just thankful to be out there, just to play basketball again.
He added that having the support of his family has been critical.
Oh, my family's support is definitely young. It's very important. And I even if this boss, I like to, encourage all family members to support, because that is so important. It gives you a drive, it gives you motivation, to continue what you want to do and to become successful.
So we will continue to monitor Dayton as his progress goes on. Hopefully that scholarship opportunity will come sooner rather than later. Reporting for Our News, I'm Marcellus Hall.
That'll do it for this portion of the news. We throw it back to meteorologist Greg Thompson for the extended weather forecast.
Thanks again, Jared. I'm meteorologist Greg Thompson with your second look at weather. Satellite view across the islands, quiet conditions, high pressure in charge, some high level moisture moving across the central and southeast Bahamas, not generating much in terms of any showers. but conditions remaining quiet. Boating forecast for the northwest and central Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. East to southeast winds 10 to 15 knots, seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean, while in the southeast Bahamas a caution flag posted for you guys. Easterly winds 15 to 20 knots, seas running 4 to 6 feet. Here's a look now at your national forecast. And now we'll look at your extended forecast through Saturday. That's a look at your weather. Make it a great night, everyone.
Thank you for joining us for Our News Tonight. To catch our news on the go, download the Rev Go Play app. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Jared Higgs. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.